I was born in England, in Dover. It's a small town on the southeast coast. I can't remember the year I came to Gran Canaria. I think it was about about 19 years ago.
I was born in England, in the south of England, near Brighton, in a little place called Cookfield. I came to Gran Canaria in 2007.
I was born in Wales, in Britain. I first came to Gran Canaria in 2001, but then I went back to the UK between 2004 and 2006, and then I came back in 2006.
I decided to come here because I'd lived in Liverpool for about 10 years. I wanted a change, and I've always dreamt of living somewhere hot.
The reason I decided to come was because I was very keen on surfing at the time, and Gran Canaria has very good waves for surfing, and a very nice climate to surf in. You know, you don't have to deal with cold, icy winters, so that's the reason I first came.
Why Gran Canaria? Because my parents were living here. My mother was working in Canterbury School as a music teacher.
I was born in Scotland, in a small town called Ayr. That's a nice place to work. I've worked here a long time, with lots of different teachers, good to work with.
It's a great place with really caring teachers, but it was hard to adjust to the new system.
I like the school. The school is quite an enjoyable place for students to be at.
I think people who haven't been here before have a preconceived idea of what the Canary Islands are like, and that idea is based on the stereotypical image of palm trees, beach, sand and sun.
When I first got here, I was just trying to take everything in, thinking about whether I could actually live here. I spent the first few days in Las Canteras, and I loved the beach.
I only lived there for 2 years, moving from Aberdeen in Scotland, and then there are so many times I wish that I could be lying there on that beach.
It was beautiful. It's one of the best in the world. It's got everything. It's near the shops, lots of restaurants. It's kept very clean. It's very safe.
But it was also a big city, so it wasn't quite how I expected. But then when I started exploring the island, I saw how different all the places were, and I fell in love with them.
I remember when I arrived at the airport, I remember the bus journey from the airport to Las Palmas, and I remember thinking, oh my God, where have I come to? Because when I looked left and when I looked right, all I could see barren, dry land that looked like something out of an old western.
It looked quite brown and dry, so it looked a bit kind of arid and inviting initially.
Again, I looked to my left and my right and I saw all these multicoloured, decrepit apartment buildings, and I wondered, where have I come to? That was my very first impression.
The most shocking cultural difference was how late the Spanish people go out in the evening. I found that quite difficult to adjust to.
I think the pace of life is definitely very different.
Well, shocking in a nice way was the availability of good, cheap, fresh fruit.
The language. There are, or at least there were then, very few people who spoke very much English, so it's very much a Spanish atmosphere.
Having had children, one of my favourite things about living here is people's attitude to children. People are very, very pleased to see children in any place, and they really like children. They're very nice to children, so I do like that.
There are lots of things. It has a little bit of everything. If you want sun, sand and beach, it's there. If you want fresh air, mountains, countryside, it's there. And it's all within half an hour's drive in the car. You can be lying on the beach or throwing snowballs. There aren't many places in the world where you can do that at such short distances.
I suppose obviously for a British person it's the climate. It's nice and warm.
The weather, I love the weather. The people are very nice and kind.
The day I arrived was in the middle of Carnival. I was faced with hundreds of strange people dressed up in very unusual costumes. Men dressed as women, women dressed as men, people dressed as other things. But I found that quite pleasant.
I think it's a big cultural event. People get very involved in it. You know, the Murgas is big and quite an important event for the Canarian people. As a foreigner, and I don't really understand the Murgas very well.
so much fun. I was quite surprised about how into it everybody got, that they really did go crazy and dress up in ridiculous costumes.
I really can't wait to go back, see my friends, see the beach, just soak in what is Gran Canaria.
The only thing I miss from my country is my family.
Nice place for children to be brought up. It's a very safe atmosphere.
At the moment, I have no intention of living here because I consider Gran Canaria to be my home.
I wouldn't have stayed here for so many years if I didn't really like it.
A good place to live.